Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to learn how to make this beautiful peplum top inspired by Vicky James. It has keyhole neckline and also a cold shoulder sleeve and a peplum detail. I don't know whether it's 190 or 90 degrees or 180. Let's head straight to it, guys. So firstly, we're starting from the scratch. We're going to be starting from basic bodies. Okay, so I already started off, but I'm going to be explaining. So these are the measurements you'll be needing. This is not a basic bodies tutorial, please. You'll be needing your shoulder, shoulder to bust point, shoulder to half length, shoulder to hip, bust, half length and hip. All right, so that's what you're going to be needing. Now from the very point of the center, like your center front, you're going to be marking half of your shoulder measurement. Now from that half of the shoulder measurement, I removed 2.5 inches, which is actually my neckline. All right. Then from there, I came down by 1 inch, 1.5 inches, sorry, here. And I connected it to the point of that my neckline for my shoulder slope. Now from here, you're going to be marking your armhole, which is your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. That's going to give you your armhole length. This can actually serve for a basic bodies tutorial if you're not a beginner. Even if you're a beginner, if you watch closely, I think you'll be able to understand what I'm doing here. Now from the very tip of the half of the shoulder measurement, you're going to be checking how many inches you have all the way to the length of your armhole. I'm just doing this to make sure that the line I'm going to be marking is straight. Now on top of that line, you're going to be marking also half of your shoulder measurement. Now I'm going to be using my ruler to connect this to this point like so. The half of the shoulder measurement, the one I marked up and the one I marked down, I connected it. Then the dotted lines, I'm also going to be connecting them together on this side, which is going to form the chest line. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know when I post lovely tutorials like this. Now on the shoulder slope, I marked half of it, and from there I'm going to be marking my bust point, all right? Also my waistline or half length, and then my hip. Some persons do not start from the midpoint of the shoulder. They start from the tip of the neckline, that 2.5 inches. It depends on the way you measured yourself or the way you measured your clients. All right. So I'm going to be using my ruler to square that dotted line together, that dotted line out. I'm going to square it out like I did now with my ruler. So having done that now, the next thing we're going to be marking is the nipple to nipple measurement. So from your center front, you want to mark your nipple, half of the nipple to nipple measurement. Of course, when you take the measurement, it should be in full, but now the half of it, all right? Because this is half of the front bodies. So after doing that, I'll use my ruler to connect it. I marked that nipple to nipple measurement on the bust point line, on the waistline, and also on the hip line. So I'm going to be connecting them all together like so. So now on the waistline, you're going to be marking ½ inch on both sides from that nipple to nipple measurement, please. On the waistline, ½ inch on both sides. And having done that with your ruler, you're going to be connecting each of the ½ inch to the bust point like so. From this side and also this side, you're going to be connecting it like so. And coming down to the hip region, I went down by 4 inches like so. And then I went ahead to connect to the 4-inch mark like so. And on this side also. So at this point, we've created our waist dart. Okay. So I'll go ahead to mark in this round, the bust circumference. So whatever you have as your bust circumference divided by 4, you're going to be putting it here. I usually add 0.5 inches to my front measurement, and I deduct 0.5 inches from the back. Like I said, this is not a detailed basic body tutorial, but I felt the need to do this first before heading straight to the tutorial of the day. Like, it's going to help you understand this very particular tutorial more. It's actually a simple one, so I decided to start from here so that anybody can make this design from the scratch. So I've done this, and I'm going to be, connecting this line to this point like so. Now we're going to be marking our side bust dart, and from this point I went ahead to mark 4 inches, And on that 4-inch mark, you're going to be marking 1/2 inch on both sides. So the 1/2 inch on both sides is what you're going to be connecting to your bust point like so. So you can create your side bust dart. I'm really going to try my best to create a detailed basic bodice front and back and sleeve tutorial, please. You guys bear with me. Now you're going to be checking the midpoint of your armhole. You're going to be marking out the midpoint of your armhole, and from that midpoint you're going to be marking 1 inch inwards, and like so you're also going to be marking 1 inch at this point of the armhole. So you're going to connect this point to that 1 inch and to the other 1 inch like so to create the armhole curve. Now on the neckline, you're coming down by 3 inches. This is the basic, like you want to make a turtleneck, a shirt, whatever you want to get, whatever you're doing for your fashion, whatever design you want to create, you should start from this. Okay, that is the standard. You should start from this, then you head over to doing whatever. So I'm going to be cutting all the sides out right now. If you're on the big side, please, that's your 2.5 inches for the neckline should be 3 inches, and then you come down also by 3 inches. If you're, that means you're very large, you come down by 3.5. Okay, so now this is what it looks like. I'm going to be cutting this out in full, and you guys, I'm gonna have to cut it out in full. I usually love to cut out in full so everybody will follow. You know, most times cutting it in half, some of you really might not really get what I'm doing, understand. So I think cutting it out in full will give you more in-depth understanding of what I'm trying to do. So I set that very part aside, and let's work on this one first. I went ahead to fold it back, and now we are going to be drawing in that keyhole neckline. The neckline is still in the basic, like nothing altered. The neckline is still in the basic, okay? So you want to measure out the length of your neckline, because remember, when you cut the keyhole neckline, you are going to be altering that neckline because it's going to be open. So you want to know the measurement of the neckline, or better still, use a paper to trace it out and keep it. So you can use it to cut the bias or whatever it is you're using to, you know, pipe the neck line, right? Pipe the neckline. So at this point, I measured the depth. I'm going to be using 3 inches depth for my keyhole, right? So I'm going to be connecting it like so. You want to be very artistic here. Can you see the way I'm drawing that neckline? Like kind of a circle or an oval shape, sorry. So this is what the first one looks like. Now the second one, I'm going to be checking the distance from the first one to the second one. I think I marked 2 inches, then I decided to use 2.5 inches. Okay, you can decide to use same thing with me or whatever it is that you feel works, but I think this is okay. 2.5 inches is okay. So look at the way I'm marking the second one right now, or I'm drawing in the second keyhole neckline. Can you see what the shape looks like, you guys? And okay, so this is it for the keyhole neckline. So remember what I said about your neckline, because you're going to be altering this keyhole, you're going to be piping it. Now for the waistline, for the waist dart, sorry, and for the side dart, I came down by 1.5 inches. Reason because you don't want to stitch the dart all the way to the very point of your nipple. No, it's going to be looking somehow. So on that very 1.5 inches, you want to redraw the dart. Okay, you understand better as we go on in this tutorial. Same thing I did here. I came down by 1.5 inches, and I'm going to be redrawing the dart. This is going to help that fullness of the bust area. It's not going to be pointy. Your dress is not going to be pointy, but it will accommodate the fullness of the bust. I hope you understand. So, but you understand, you see it later on as we go on this tutorial by the time we're done with the pattern draft. So, this is what it looks like right now. And I'll go ahead to cut out the dart. Remember at 1.5 inch, like so. And also for the side bust dart at the 1.5 inches. So this is what it looks like. I'll go ahead to cut the keyhole neckline. Please be very careful and make sure you're cutting exactly what you drew. First, you have to take caution while drawing the keyhole. And while cutting also, you want to make sure you cut out exactly what you drew. And while transferring the pattern to your fabric, you want to make sure you transfer exactly what is on the pattern to the fabric, so you have splendid results on your dress or on your top. So I'm cutting this out right now. You see why I said you should take the measurements? Can you see? it's open, so you don't do guesswork. Please take the measurement, or you can trace it out and keep it to one place, so that trace it out and just put it in mind. So this is what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like. Can you see that? The keyhole neckline, this is what it looks like, you guys. You just stitch up this place, and I'll actually do that as we head on in this tutorial. So let's move over to the peplum aspect of it. So for the peplum part of it, if you check the top of the screen, the picture we are recreating, you find out that that peplum is, I don't know how to explain. Is it 90 degrees? You guys, this 90, this whole 90, whatever. But I'll just show you what's the way that peplum was actually achieved. So you are going to be cutting out your dart in full, like you're cutting out the whole dart. Okay. Then you head over to this very part, and you cut all the way to the point of the dart, like make it like a kind of a pivot where you can close and open. All right, something like this, right? Please do not overlap it. Just make sure they are touching each other. Do not overlap it. So right now I'm going to be using my tape to close it like so. So I'm going to be closing this very part. And the next thing I'm going to do is to get a fresh pattern paper. Okay, after I've closed it, I'll get a fresh pattern paper and put it underneath this one, so we can fill up those holes there. All right, so I'll be getting my tape and I'll be holding this down. Get my tape and hold it down. So I haven't done that now. We're going to be cutting out the excess. So if you feel at this point this is okay, but if you feel you need more fullness, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be cutting at the center front. Cut to and not through. You're just going to cut to the very tip where you also have that pivot, stuff. So you're going to get a fresh pattern paper and put it underneath. Please do not overspread it. Maximum 1 inch. Maximum that you're going to spread. Just 1 inch, please. So at that point, I had to tape it down. This very center part is not compulsory. It's only if you need more fullness in your peplum. It's not compulsory. I don't even think she did that in the one she's wearing, because I've created this kind of design before. I've made this for myself a long time ago, and I didn't use the center one, so it's optional. Okay. Now to create that asymmetric effect, I'm going to be coming down by 5 inches at this part, and I'll go ahead to connect it to this very part like so. So I'm going to be connecting it to this very part like so, you guys. Can you see that? So I'll go ahead to use my scissors and cut out the parts that we do not need. So this is what it's looking like for the peplum, right? And this is what the top part of it is looking like. So this is what your pattern should look like. I'm going to be closing, using my tape to hold these very darts together, so I can explain that stuff I told you to accommodate the fullness around the bust. Okay. So can you see that? Rather than giving the pointy effect, can you see what it looks like? It's going to accommodate that fullness around the bust. So that is the reason why we had to do that 1.5 inch, whatever we did. Okay, can you see that? It's not pointy at the bust area. Can you see? So this is all for the front. So if you put this like so, you're going to be having a peplum effect like this. Can you see that? All right. So after doing this now, we're going to be heading over to the back. For the back also, you need your basic back. I'm sorry I didn't start from the scratch here. I was already feeling tired, you guys. I'm sorry about that. So we're going to be starting from here. I want to separate we're going to be separating from the waistline or half length. So I'll be setting this lower part aside so we can work on the upper part. There's actually nothing much to do. Your depth of the back, I'm just coming down by 1 inch. Of course, it's just going to be the basic. I came down by 1 inch. It's not really the basic. The basic is half an inch. All right, so I came down by 1 inch. Actually 1.5. if you add the half an inch already removed while I drafted the pattern. So you're coming down by 1.5. And for the darts of the back, you're not coming down by any 1.5. You're just cutting it the way it is. It's the back, okay? So you're cutting it the way it is. And this is it for the back. You're cutting this in two. And also take note of your zipper allowance. So you set this aside. Now for the peplum of the back, is also same thing like what we did for the front. But now, if you decide to make the back of your peplum asymmetric, it's up to you, okay? If you decide to leave it in full, it's up to you. Just make sure that wherever the asymmetric is for the front, that is also where the asymmetric design is going to be for the back, right? But for the sake of this tutorial, the peplum is just going to be, it's going to be the same thing on both sides for the back. So same procedure, we are cutting this out and we are cutting at this point. We're going to be closing up the darts so we can have fullness at the bottom or at the hemline of the top. Do not overlap it, please. Remember, do not overlap it. Just make sure it's touching each other. You're closing it like it's touching each other. So I'm going ahead to cut out the excess right now, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so here you're going to be cutting in two, zipper allowance, and that is it for the peplum of the back. So the next thing here is the sleeve. Now for the sleeve also is actually very simple. I'm going to be using this ruler to make my center sleeve visible. Like this place where I'm drawing the line or where I'm ruling out is my center sleeve. So you want to take note of your center sleeve while drafting or while working on your sleeve pattern. So you're going to be determining how much you want it to open, how much of the opening you want. Here I'm using 5 inches, right? I'm using 5 inches. You want to determine how deep you want that cold shoulder sleeve to be. Now on the cap sleeve for the front, I'm going to be marking 4 inches, like so. Same thing, I'm also going to be marking the same 4 inches for the back. So we're going to be connecting this 4 inches mark to the 5 inches at the center of the sleeve. So we're connecting it like so here, and we're also connecting it like so from this very point to create that cold shoulder sleeve effect. All right. So I'm going to be cutting out this whole part. I'm going to be cutting this whole part out. We do not need it. So this is what it looks like, right? You're going to be sewing on, of course, this very top part, right? You're going to be sewing on the top part. So this is what it should look like. Of course, you're sewing that part, I told you, onto the very part of the sleeve, like so. That's where you're going to be sewing it